Welcome to Bleachers and Speakers. I'm your host, June Boss.
Yo,
Another close one.
another close one. Yeah. Did we win
Another
by 1 point?
almost,
Oh, yeah. Never mind. Sorry, my bad. My bad.
another almost had him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, um. First off, the sky's not falling. Let let's
Right.
let's keep it all in perspective. It's game two. There's plenty of football left, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday's loss versus Seattle, 37-31 overtime loss, was a tough one. It was a bitter pill to swallow. And not gonna sugarcoat it, not gonna brush it off. It is what it is. It's a loss, but I felt that a game we could have easily won. Couple of breaks, couple of turnovers. Fossey, help me out here, man. Help me out here. What?
I mean, th- this loss doesn't surprise me. I knew it was going to be a tough game. Seattle was always tough. They always play us tough, obviously. And I just wasn't ready to just cash in on my trips and say, "Oh, we're going to the promised land and we're gonna we're gonna win out the rest of the season." I knew this would be a tough game. This was definitely a winnable game, and there were opportunities left on the table. Seattle was the better team. Well, Seattle was the better. They got the W when it's all said and done.
They was the
I'm
better
not.
team
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah. They played the more complete game from beginning to end. But we were right there. We were right there.
Obviously, there's some things that need to be shored up and addressed. Uh, Foster, the most glaring thing that I just don't understand is from a defensive unit that I thought was a strong was our strongest unit, and that's the defensive line. And the lack yesterday of the lack of pass rush yesterday was very glaring. It was obvious. Even they were able to run the ball, and to be honest, I did not expect Geno Smith to have another good game against us. Like I, last year, he blew the roof off versus the Lions, and I didn't think he would do it again. And he had another brilliant game. Like he had one mistake in the fourth quarter. That was the sack he took. But other than that, he was hitting wide open receivers, wide open tight ends. Uh, he didn't get hit much. Uh, it was just I didn't expect that from Geno Smith again. Maybe I wasn't a believer last year, but that hurt, man. That lack of then you have equipped with the mistakes.
Yeah.
If you're not going to be thorough on defense, you can't give up a pick six.
Yeah.
You can't turn over the ball on your side of the field at the beginning of the second half like you did. You can't gamble. Well, you can gamble, but you got to convert on fourth down at midfield, or you're giving up that field position to an offensive team that's moving the ball on you at will.
Yeah. I mean, we can't celebrate Campbell for the we gotta take the fact that every conversion is not going to go as planned. So we have to
Mhm.
accept as well as we accept the well, I guess that was a fake, so I don't know if that counts into it. It's still a gamble either
It
way.
does.
But
It does.
yeah, I guess we have to embrace both sides to what a gamble consists of. So um, yeah, I mean, I have liked for them to just punt it away and to push them back and flip the field, of course. But Gotta embrace both sides of what that consists of.
And again, hindsight is a perfect science. Like
Right.
if he converts, he's a hero. He's a great coach. He makes great decisions. He's a gutsy one. But if you fail, then you're going to question him. And I don't know. I'd rather have the coach that takes risks, you know what I'm saying, than than the conservative coach. Now, at some point, he's going to the team's not going to convert on those gambles like yesterday.
Yeah.
And you know, like you said, Foss, you can't have it both ways. You're going to you if you're going to enjoy the conversions, you got to be able to stomach when they get those when they don't convert. Because I don't question his choices. I'm just saying if you're in that situation, you got to convert, and that's not on him. It's he makes the call, the players have to execute it.
Right.
So it is what it is. I also thought it was pass interference. I'm sorry. They said the legs got tangled. I saw his arm around his leg before that happened. So hey, but we don't get all our calls. We don't get any calls. We don't get any holding calls or nothing like that. But that's another subject. We're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not going to talk about that. Before I say, let me ask you though.
Mm-hmm.
You watched the Kansas City game and you saw a lot of Hutch being held a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw it as much, but I definitely saw it the last play of the last touchdown of the game in overtime.
Yeah.
He was held.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we gotta focus on what we can control. We cannot control how the referees decide to hand out those penalties. We gotta, yeah, we just gotta focus on what on doing, taking care of the ball. That's something that the refs have no control over,
Mhm.
unless something crazy happens. Taking care of the ball and executing the best we can, because we've never been a team that was favorable by the refs and got the benefit of the doubt. So that's just the way it is. It's too easy to cop out on stuff like that. But yeah, there were some blatant situations, especially when it's slowed down and frozen, because we know there's holding on every play. Just sometimes it's more blatant than others. So yeah.
The reason why I fuss about the very last play in the game is because it's in clear sight. He has a clear path to the to the quarterback. It's not in a bunch of traffic.
Right.
It's right there. It looks like it's only three in the frame: the offensive lineman, Hutch, and Gino, and you can see it. And it's like if you call a penalty there, and I'm not making no excuse, but if you call a penalty, you push them back 10 yards, and but again, I saw yesterday where they were big plays on third down. They gave up first downs on third down. So I don't know. The way that defense was playing yesterday, it might not have made a difference. If we're going woulda, coulda, shoulda, they probably could have converted if you called a holding. So the
After
way the
that, yeah.
defense was playing, so let's just keep it real. Like, but what I want to do, we all saw the game, and it's sky's not falling. Detroit is 1-1. We play Atlanta next week, and we'll talk about that later. But I want to get these. I want to get your take on the grades, man. I want to know. Give me the offense. What? How did you grade the offense, Foster?
This is tricky. Goff overall played a pretty clean game. I think he only had like 7 incompletions.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the one pick six being very, that definitely knocks the grade down. But overall,
Mhm.
they jinxed them. They brought up the amount of passes without interceptions, whatever. But
Mhm.
overall, he was hitting his targets, and he got us into the end zone through 2 touchdowns to Reynolds and one to Khalif Raymond, I believe,
Mhm. On the flea flicker.
on the flea flicker. Uh, Montgomery got hurt, so that definitely hurt us, and we kind of got exploited. We kind of got exposed for our depth at the running back position. Reynolds did not look great. Craig Reynolds,
Yeah, for sure.
right? So
Number 13.
Gibbs had a solid game. He did have a drop. All in all, and then the fumble from Montgomery as well. All in all, B minus. They
You
scored
read
31
my mind.
points.
You
Yeah,
read my mind.
they
That
scored
was the
31
exact
points,
grade I had for him.
and they gave the defense some support out there as far as hold them under 31. That's 4 touchdowns and a field goal. So that's where I'm at with it. You agree?
I gave them the exact same grade. And the offense was moving the ball, but there were maybe 4 particular instances where 3 crucial ones. And the first one was the fumble right after half.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
huge.
it was huge. It was a momentum changer. You give them the ball at the 25, 30-yard line, and they tie the game up. The pick six was an offensive woe. That you know what I'm saying? Then you have the not converting on 4th down at midfield. That's when you need them to convert. And the 4th thing that bothered me about the offense, and I probably catch some flack for it, but I thought the approach to tie the game shouldn't have been the approach. I'm thinking, don't give them a chance to to get on the field, that offense to get on the field again. Try to get a touchdown, but once they got in the field goal range, it was like, okay, let's do some safe stuff. We'll go into overtime. I think you have to that gambling coach, that gambling coach spirit should have been there in that last drive. Now I might be wrong, but hey, this is what happens. Go to overtime, the coin toss, you put that offense back on the field.
Yeah.
But like I said, hey, it's not a perfect science. Like hindsight, it is what it is after the game. You can dice it up and say what should have happened, what could have happened. Coach should have did this, coach should have did that. I'm willing to live with him making it to overtime. But with that being said, I have to grade him as a B minus on offense. Other than that, the ability to run the ball in between the tackles early with Montgomery till he got hurt. Uh, that was going well. Montgomery was running very, very well outside of the fumble.
Yeah.
Uh, Golf threw the ball very, very well outside of the pick six. And he threw for over 300 yards. Am I correct? Was it over 300 or very close
I don't
to it?
have the stats right in front of me, but he had a pretty good.
He had a pretty good game. He had a pretty good game outside of the pick six. You take away the pick six, and that B minus is almost A minus / B plus type of a grade for the offense.
323.
But huh?
323 yards.
He throws for 300 yards. He
It's a
just
lot of
had that
yards.
very, very crucial pick six. Very
Huge.
crucial.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, Foster gives it a B minus. I give a B minus. You know what I want to do?
Hmm.
Boss, I'm going to keep track of all of this, and at the end of the year, they'll have a grade for the
Cumulative
year.
GPA.
They have a GPA for them, GPA.
All right. All
Now,
right.
now it's time to grade the defense, Foster. I want to know what you think about how did you grade the defense?
Okay, so everybody's jumping on the defense's back. When it's all said and done, we went to overtime. It was on the defense to make a stop or at least hold them to a field goal. We were not able to do that. We kind of talked about how the offense affected because what happens is we say 37 points scored. That means the defense gave up 40 points. But we know that's not really.
It's not how it
I mean,
works.
their job is to hold the offense, correct? But
Correct.
on several occasions, the offense kind of put them in a compromising situation. Obviously, a pick six absolutely has nothing to do with the defense.
Nothing.
Um, the fumble was tough. That put them in a bad situation, and obviously the turnover
Yeah.
on downs, same kind of deal.
Mhm.
Overall, I did give them a C. I did give them a C minus. They stopped the run after uh the first drive. They pretty much ran at will, passed at will. The defense was looking real shaky. Beyond that, I think they did a pretty good job of stopping the run after that. Uh, Outside of Geno Smith getting loose a few times, but I think Walker ended up with like 70 yards rushing. No,
Yeah.
40 yards rushing. 40 yards rushing.
It
Not
was
great.
more than to be desired, though.
Yeah, I mean, he had two touchdowns. He did have two rushing touchdowns, but he only had
Mhm.
43 yards rushing, which is not good at all. I mean, Montgomery in one half had what 60, 70 yards. So
Yeah.
yeah, he had 67 yards in one half. He was hurt the whole second half, right? Or not the whole second half, but a good amount of it. So I think they did a decent job stopping the run. Obviously, the secondary got torched. I put a decent amount of that blame on the pass
Mm.
rush
Yeah.
because you gotta. I mean it's tough in the secondary, and when the quarterbacks got all day to go through his reads and you know plays break down, it's tough to cover those guys. But yeah, Jerry Jacobs was definitely the he's definitely getting bombed on online as far as people looking at the stats and looking at who got off. I mean, Lockett got very busy out there on him. Lockett had two touchdowns. Didn't have a ton
Mhm.
of yards, but he had two touchdowns. Metcalf had 75 yards. The tight ends was the most glaring thing for me. I think they went
Oh,
three deep with tight ends,
man.
and just
Mhm.
when it mattered the most, Font Font was somebody that we could not stop. But yeah, the secondary kind of got exposed yesterday, and ultimately we need in the overtime we needed them to at least hold it to a field goal, and they eventually scored. There was some controversial calls out there as far as the holding and stuff like that, but what can you do? We need somebody besides Hutch to get to the quarterback. We found out today, obviously, James Houston is going to be out for a significant period of time, and
Mm.
we got a couple injuries in the defensive line. So next man up, Roderick Martin, the Aquara brothers. Um, Kaminsky's got to step up. We got some work to do. We got one sack because I kind of missed the fact that we got one sack because it was kind of a covered sack by Anzalone. So we got
Yeah.
off the schneid in that regards, but that ain't an authentic sack from a defensive lineman. I'm not, or a blitzer per se. So
Mhm.
gotta make some plays. Gotta turn the ball over. That's the one thing that was huge for us last week is Brian Branch's pick six. We see how the pick sixes can shift the momentum of a game. So
Yeah. So, I did you? look at my notes for some odd reason because we both have the
Same
same
thing.
grades. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna read some stats. I'm gonna tell you a couple of stats, right? You mentioned one of them. I had one lined up, and that was the fact that we only had one sack. That was in the fourth quarter.
End of the game.
End of the game. I got another stat: 12 reception, 180 yards. Yes, I'm still talking about the defense. Those were the amount of reception yardage that Jerry Jacobs allowed when he was covering somebody. He
Did we jinx
allowed
them?
12. He was our featured player of the week last week. And
It's
on
starting to.
him, it's
Yeah.
been recorded that he allowed 12 receptions and 180 yards. I mean, golly. The lack of pass rush. Um, Gino looked like a star once again. Just allowing. Now, the score was 37-31. I'm going to take away 14 of those points
Yeah.
against the defense because of the pick six and because of allowing the fumble that gave them the ball on the 20 or 25 or whatever it was. You take away those 14 points, they have 23 points, but they were still moving the ball. So
And they missed two
don't give them.
field goals. Don't forget
They
about
missed
that.
two
They
field
missed
goals.
at least two, right? Yeah. So
They missed two field goals. So again, if you add those field goals, that's 29 points. I don't give them a failing grade, but they didn't play very well, and I give them a C minus as well. Give us 1 second, peoples. Yeah, we got to pay some bills. You know what it is. So we are back. Just a brief intermission before we talk about. And now you had a C minus for the defense. I had a C minus for the defense. You had a B minus for the offense. I gave him a B minus. This is really easy to keep track of this week. I want you to give me your opinion. Give me the coach's grade.
Phew. So I do want to, as far as on the defensive side, you gotta you I feel like you got to put some of the blame on them as far as some of just the defensive schemes. They had a lot
Mhm.
of drop coverages with James Houston, that's not his forte. They dropped Charles Harris into coverage at times. They dropped Hutch in coverage at times. And just the way those tight ends, right, just the way the tight ends were running rampant, I feel like there needed to be some adjustments made, and we were not able to do that. On the offensive side, once Montgomery was hurt, I feel that Gibbs was not utilized as much as he should have been. That's your number. That's your first number. Your first pick in the first round.
Mhm.
You gotta him getting drafted so high. You got to put that on him now because Reynolds is out there, but this is a perfect opportunity for your. I get it. Montgomery is your RB1,
Yeah.
but Gibbs is your 1A. Like if there was any opportunity to showcase the pick that you chose, passing up on a lot of other guys, that's going to be controversial. It's on Gibbs to make things happen. So I feel like they didn't adjust to Montgomery being taken out of that ball game in the best way they could have. Gibbs had a decent game. He's definitely going to be active in the pass, as far as receiving, which is
Mhm.
great and all. Laporta had a great game. That was
Yes.
really good to see. So,
Yes.
but yeah, as far as the coaching grade, I gotta give them And when it's all said and done, they did give us an opportunity to win. We came back from a 10-yard deficit, got it to overtime. But do I want to give them a deep C minus? I say C minus. But I'm not mad at anybody that grades them a little harder because they definitely they left a lot on the plate. On both
I
ends.
gave them the coaching a D plus, and
I was right. Yeah.
I'm very harsh with that because of there was so many broken down coverages. Like it had to be those tight ends were wide open all day long. There was no adjustments, in my opinion. Uh, as much as you give praise for Coach Campbell to take a gamble and make it, he's gonna get graded when it doesn't work. And
Right.
it's not fair, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, I was very crucial on that last drive that offensively we had in regulation to send it to overtime. I think you let it all hang out. You know, I thought it looked they had a close up of one of the defenders, and he was a D back, and he was breathing heavily. And I'm like, yeah, you know, that defense is tired. Let's go all out. Open the playbook. Let's get into the end zone. Let's end it in regulation. But they said it, you know, they played it safe. Once they got into field goal range and said, okay, we'll do some safe passes. We'll run the ball, you know, and it's like, ah, you know what I'm saying? Just, I don't know. I don't know. So I gave him a deep, I'm very harsh uh, when it comes to coaching. And I think the game could have been called a little better. But I do have faith in the coaching. I'll, you know, you're going to have bad games. You're not going to coach every game perfectly. Your players have to make some plays every now and then outside of your coaching. And the players make the coaches look good, and the players can make coaches look bad. So all this
Yeah.
falls on the coaching, and I gave them a D plus. But with me and you averaging, if you average them both, my D plus and your C minus, I'll be nice and give it an overall grade of a C minus when it comes
I'm
down
C
to the average.
minus high. Okay.
Give them a C minus. Give them a C minus, you know. Um, offensive MVP, Foster. Who you have for your offensive MVP?
I'm gonna go with Josh Reynolds. This is the second week in a row. He's had a good ball game. Kind of the unsung hero, not the guy that people talk about the most, but two receiving touchdowns
Mhm.
yesterday, and he's just continuing to continuing to be that secondary guy to Amon-Ra St. Brown, taking the pressure off him. I gave it to Goff last time. Goff, you take away the pick six, you probably could just give it to Goff again. But
Mhm.
yeah, Reynolds consistent 2 weeks in a row.
Reynolds gets my vote, and if Goff doesn't throw that pick six, he easily gets the offensive MVP for me. So
Yeah.
that's my offensive MVP as well, Josh Reynolds. Who do you have for your defensive
Honestly, the defense
MVP?
was so shaky. It was tough to to find the silver lining in all of it. I think C.J. Gardner Johnson's overall led the team in tackles, so I went with him. But
Mhm.
I don't I don't know. It was a tough call on that one.
I can tell you who it wasn't, but I'm not going to point him out.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that.
It has to be CJ. He made some good plays and run support.
Yeah.
He was out there. He was vocal. He was all over the field. So I have to agree with you on that. We're on part of that. We're on the same page.
Yep.
So
We did not
now
rehearse
I'm
this.
no, it's unrehearsed. It's like we just go with it. Like really. So but this part is rehearsed. I'm going to step to the side while Foster talks about the featured player of the week.
All right. So the featured player of the week this week is Joshua Pascal. The As far as the theme of Joshua Pascal is leadership and adversity. This guy was a four-star recruit out of the DMV area. He was a three-time team captain in Kentucky. This is the first. That's the first time that's ever happened in Kentucky. And he played since day one. Um, as far as the adversity is concerned, he was diagnosed with a skin cancer his sophomore year, and he had to go through several surgeries in order to prevent anything lethal. But he was able to return from that, and eventually he won the Jason Witten Award, which goes to the player that displays courage and integrity on and off the field. His senior year, he had an exceptional year. He was first team All SEC and second team All Academic. So this is a character guy. This is a leader. Um, he falls into that category of Dan Campbell guy. Uh, as far as the statistics that he had his senior year, he had 28 hurries. He had a 12.4 run stop rate, which led the FBS. So this guy is a versatile defensive lineman, specialty in run stopping. He plays inside and outside defensive line. He decided to forego the bowl game to prepare for the combine and the draft. Ultimately, he was drafted in the second round by the Lions. He had a great combine. He scored very high in the broad jump as well as the vertical. The only defensive lineman that he didn't do as well in the combine was Detroit's own Aiden Hutchinson. So he had a very good combine. With the one workout that was he was lacking in was the 40 time. I think he ran a 4.77 40-yard dash. Overall, like I said, he's a versatile defensive lineman whose focus is on his run stop. His pass rush, like I said, I think he only had 5.5 sacks his senior year. Um, he has trouble with his footwork and balance. Sometimes he can be uprooted by the offensive lineman, and he's a little bit undersized for a guy that doesn't have elite speed. As far as what he's accomplished in the NFL thus far, he started the year on the PUP list last year. He didn't. I don't think he practiced at all in the training camp. He had no preseason, and he was activated in October. He recorded 2 sacks last year.
Mm.
Once again, he this year he did participate in camp this year. He had a good camp. He played a lot in the preseason, and he was ready for a breakout year. He played in the first game of the year against Kansas City. Had a decent game, and then he was injured in practice. So he is out for the next couple of weeks, and I think the Lions definitely needed him yesterday. And we are getting thinner and thinner on that defensive line. James Houston is out, and he's out for the next couple of games. So hopefully he can get back on track whenever he gets back on the field. But uh, it'll be real interesting to see how the Lions do without him and James Houston for the next couple of games, because we got some good running backs coming to town for sure. At least next week, there's a good running back
Yeah.
coming to town. So that is Josh Pascal.
Big Lions roar for Josh Pascal. Hopefully he can get back sooner than what we anticipate. And Foster 4, we talk about Atlanta. I have a question for you, bro.
What's up?
I want to know in this young season, what are we missing?
The biggest glaring thing for me is definitely on the defensive line. I think we went into this year thinking that we were pretty deep. We had James Houston coming back, only playing about half the year, and he recorded the 8 sacks. So we're like, okay, we got somebody that can possibly apply pressure opposite Aiden Hutchinson. Outside of that, we brought back Kaminsky, we brought back the Acquire brothers, we drafted Broderick Martin, and then Levi Anzarike is back as well. We had Bugs. I don't know what's going on with Bugs, but he has not played yet
Yeah.
thus far. So we seem to be pretty. We didn't have that star on the other end, but it seemed like we had some guys that were going to be good enough, which is maybe where we played ourselves into thinking good enough as opposed to having proven a proven veteran stud on the other side of the edge. We knew Hutchinson was solid and good to go. So maybe we were too conservative in shoring up that the defensive line overall, but that's the most glaring thing for us. Other than that, maybe an offensive weapon. We know J-Mo's coming back, and we kind of have to weather the storm till then. But even then, Raymond and Reynolds have handled their business. Of course, Amon-Ra St. Brown is top 10 in the league. So, and then we got Gibbs and Laporta. So, offense, I'm not really that worried about. Goff is handling his business right now. So, yeah, defensive line is really what is the biggest question mark for me right now. I think the linebackers are doing all right. I think Barnes is doing pretty good. I think Campbell's doing pretty good. I think Anzalone is good enough. That defensive line in the pass rush is letting me down. 1 sack, and the sack came from Anzalone. So I'm ready to see a defensive line sack.
Well, it's very early in the game for me to say what I'm going to say if this continues. But I'm gonna put it out there. If you draft Jalen Carter in the middle at 6, and you get a corner at 18, okay, I'm gonna stop. But it's too early for me to say that now. But if you hear it again, we're in trouble. I'm gonna really second guess this draft. I
Gonzalez
think
had a pick yesterday. I just happened to just be watching the Pats game, and I see
okay,
Gonzalez
Foster. I'm
get this.
trying to get off. I'm trying to get away from that. You're reeling me back in, man. I'm trying to get. Okay, let me stop. But I'm going to get even more specific when it comes to the defensive line. The
Okay.
interior pass rush
Yeah.
is lacking. Coach Campbell had a press conference and he basically said about the pass rush, you want to keep him in the pocket, meaning you don't want your rush ends. You want your rush ends to have some kind of containment on the outside, you know. But that doesn't work if you don't have a push from the interior.
Exactly.
And that's what's not been happening. Pressure can help a corner more than anything. I think yesterday's case was Jacobs got exposed, and I think a lot of it had to do with the lack of pressure.
Yeah.
So, when you get pressure on a quarterback, your corners have an easier day. You're going to have errant throws. You're not going to have throws that's you're not going to hit every receiver. And a perfect example is versus Kansas City. No sacks, but Mahomes couldn't get set like he wanted to.
Right.
And he had a lot of incompletions. So, with that being said, we got Atlanta next week. And I have another question for you, Foster. I'm putting you on the spot.
Okay.
What happens if you drop this game and you go 1-2.
Okay, so this is in Detroit. This is important. This is an important part to it. Losing two in a row at home is oh, if you thought the if you thought we were in an uproar after the first game. Now, granted, Atlanta is 2-0. I don't think the world's convinced they are legit yet. I know I'm not convinced yet. They beat the Packers, whatever. Are the Packers really legit?
They beat the Packers without Aaron Jones,
Yeah,
without their first running and their number one receiver.
right. So, but they won though.
They won. They won.
So yeah, tough to say. I think Desmond Ritter had a better game,
Yes, he did.
but I'm not sold on him as of yet. So, like I said, two in a row at home, you don't want to do that. The fan like we had the momentum was there. We had the villain thing going on, the ski mask. I think that the fans are going to come out in full effect next week, but it is going to be really deflating if we lose. You know, we're still not into our divisional, because that's the most important when it's all said and done. It's how you fare in the division. Thus far, I think everybody lost. I think everybody in NFC North lost last week, right?
Everybody lost.
Bears,
Everybody lost.
Packers,
Green
Lions,
Bay,
Vikings.
Green
Everybody
Bay,
lost.
and Detroit are at the top at 1-1.
Right. So one thing that we've learned is that we, as far as being the top-notch NFC team, we're probably a tier under that, because we lost to the Seahawks. We feel that the Seahawks are probably up there. The Niners are up there. The Eagles are up there. Teams like that are at the top tier NFC. So until we get into the NFC North, we don't. That's when it starts getting scary. When you start losing games to the Packers and Vikings. We'll get to that when we get to that. But you want to beat the Falcons at home. Certainly at home, you want to beat the Falcons.
Yeah, so
And we
that
certainly
means,
don't want to get smacked around by the Falcons. Oh my God. That is.
well, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen if we drop this next game.
What's up?
You're going to see panic from the fans. You're going to see get rid of this person. You're going to have people questioning the draft like
Brad
I
Holmes.
have in the back of my mind. Brad is going to before the season starts. Brad knows how to pick them, and if they drop this game and go 1-2, like me and you, we both know that the real nitty gritty happens in division play, and it's too early to panic 3 games in. 17 game season, you got 14 games left. A lot could happen. It's a lot of football to be played after that.
As you can
However,
see,
I think
injuries are going to be a factor everywhere. Barkley's hurt.
yeah,
Players start falling like flies early, man.
yeah, so with that being said, Foster, now the last thing I want to get from you before we get out of here, I want a prediction for the next game. You predicted us to win last game and you were wrong. But I want to give us a prediction for this game, Foster.
Oh my God. I was worried he
I'm
was
not
going to
giving
ask.
one.
See, that's what I want. Okay. Okay.
What we gonna do against some dirty birds, man?
So what scares me is B. John Robinson. The quarterback doesn't. I'm not sold on the quarterback. I'm not sold on the weapons they got. They got Drake London. That's all I know is Drake London. Their backup running back is pretty good. He had a great game. I think he had 2 touchdowns last game or something like that.
I'm
But
scared.
I I think that despite the fact that we're definitely short on the defensive line, I think our backs aren't against the wall, but I really feel like our coaching staff, the pressure is on for them to make some adjustments, and because we got weapons. Mosley's on the way back. We need Mosley. I think Jerry Jacobs putting him back in the slot and out of the outside is a much more comfortable role for him. I think that Brian Branch is going to, because I had to ask around. I'm like, is he? I eventually saw him, but I was like, is Branch playing? Is he hurt? Like he wasn't as in the mix in my eyes. From what I could see, he wasn't in the
He
mix
was out
as much.
there.
He was out there for sure because I looked, I saw him, but I think that Branch is gonna pop back up, and I think that Aaron Glenn is gonna make some adjustments because they call him for his head. Pause. They they ready to send him out of town. You saw the who was it the one of our defensive. I don't think it was it our defensive back coach got fired last year.
It was the D-backs coach last year.
Yeah. So Aaron Glenn, I think the fire was hot then for him.
Yeah.
So that's what it's going to come down to. As far as offense, I think we're pretty solid offensively. Gibbs is going to be much more featured next week. He's probably going to start. I don't know if Montgomery's going to be able to play next week. So
They mentioned what
I
was
think I
wrong with
jinxed him saying that he was durable and only don't miss many games.
yeah, they mentioned that he had a deep thigh bruise.
Okay, that don't sound serious.
No, but that's what coach mentioned at the press conference, but that was yesterday. He
Right,
probably had tests and whatever today, so I haven't heard anything outside of that. So I don't expect him to play. For him to
right.
leave the game, I don't expect him to play, but hey, who knows? He's pretty durable, as you say.
And we got
Go
Bam
figure.
Knight. We ended up signing him to the practice squad. He played running back for the Jets last year. He kind of not too much, but he played for the Jets a little bit last year. So we can always activate him. That's what the practice squad is for. But overall, I said all that to say this. I got the Lions win. I got the Lions winning this game.
Okay.
As far, I ain't doing
No
scores.
score, just
I'm not good.
to
I'm
win.
not good with that. I say we
No,
score
you're
30.
not, Foster.
What I say last week? I think I said 31. I think we were going to score 31 points. What did I
Yeah,
say?
I
31,
think you said
31,
31,
28,
24,
24, something
something
like
like
okay. Yeah,
that.
so it's going to be around there.
If
We're going to
if you
score
hadn't
about.
turned the ball over twice, you'd been dead on the money.
Right, yeah. I can't anticipate stuff like that happening. But I'll say 28-24 Lions over the Falcons at home, but duck and cover if the Falcons if the Falcons win that game, man, because it is they jumped off that bandwagon fast, man. But you know what?
Whew.
Everybody that did it needs to stay there.
Well, we're gonna close with that. And before we get out of here, I'm gonna give a prediction. I predict that the